Hi there, I'm Geoffrey Swait, Chief Academic Advisor at Kepler Education, but also from the beginning a Kepler parent. And I wanted to record a video today to tell you about my life as a Kepler parent and the journey and the evolution that it has been. I hope that you, as a Kepler family or as a prospective Kepler family, will find this helpful. Now, we are a homeschooling and educating family. I'll explain what I mean by both those terms. But we were a purely homeschooling family before we moved to Moscow, Idaho, where there's so much wonderful classical Christian education. And at that point, we became a hybrid homeschooling and traditional Christian schooling family. So my eldest had homeschooled her entire life. She did her senior year at a local school, and that was fine. She's taken a gap year and will be going to New St. Andrews College this coming year. Now, some of our kids continued in traditional Christian schools, and some of our kids continued to homeschool. Next year, we will all be homeschooling again, and all of us will be at Kepler in one degree or another, except for our youngest, who's in 4th grade and doesn't qualify to be at Kepler. Kepler is in 7th grade on. And what I mean when I say that we are an educating family, my wife and I both teach at Kepler. My wife also teaches on other platforms. We've both spent our lives as teachers. Both of my parents were teachers, although my dad was a professor who didn't like it when he was given classes. He wanted to research and work with grad students. All that aside, we're going to consider him a teacher as well. And so we come from a family that has a high educational standard. And one of the things that we found was that Kepler, and I say this as a family, as a father, I'm not going to mess around with my kids' education. We're not going to mess around with our kids' education. We weren't going to just do Kepler because Kepler was where I worked, and we didn't. And yet we have found over the past couple of years that we think that Kepler, either full-bore diploma track or mixed in, as most homeschooling families use us, is what's best going to bring excellence into the educational lives of our children, particularly when mixing excellence with creativity, which is something that we value deeply. So as of next year, so my eldest is off to college. My second oldest, a young man, he asked if he could graduate early, because we're homeschoolers. That's the kind of conversation homeschoolers have. And we talked to him, and we talked about what he wanted to do in life. And we said, you know what? Yeah, you can go ahead and graduate a year early. Let's hear what your plan is. So he wants to go off and at least begin by teaching English as a second language abroad. This may or may not happen. But what he's done is that he has signed up for one of Kepler's continuing education courses, which is a teacher certification. And he'll be combining that with an English as a second language certification from a Christian, from a ministry. That's not Kepler. He'll also be taking Japanese at Kepler with high school students. And we have 2 young men who actually asked to begin homeschooling again. And one of them in particular really had to weigh things heavily because he wants to be an engineer. He wants to dedicate himself to the sciences. And his initial thought was, well, in a school setting, I'll have labs, I'll have all these options. Math and science is probably going to be better for me there. But at the end of the day, he's decided that focusing on those things through Kepler is actually going to provide him with more opportunities. So he founded a robotics club a couple of years back. He wants to focus on that. I was able to tell him about our awesome math and science teachers, and so he's in it. And and again, both of those boys, my 3rd and 4th children, have requested that they homeschool. Now, the older of those two, the one with the maths and sciences focus, maths and sciences at Kepler, but he wants to study with his friends here in town. And a lot of his friends are homeschoolers. So he's going to join a local homeschooling cooperative for some humanities classes as well, which is, of course, a great way to use Kepler, right? That's how most of us do that, right? We sign up for a class or two with Kepler, and we have some other homeschooling things going on. The younger of the two wants to do the diploma track. He actually wants to take care of everything at home, so he signed up for the full diploma track. My very youngest, the 9-year-old, is chagrined that she can't do any Kepler classes with her siblings, but she's just going to have to wait till she's in 7th grade. So it's really interesting. It was really interesting to see how our family, we realized that we had to be a homeschooling family because of our culture and the things that we valued in education. I was homeschooled through high school. And then, my buddy and I were the first homeschoolers ever accepted into the University of Florida. And, I got quite used to the homeschooling scene in the 90s and, just doing things for yourself. My mother was the Spanish teacher at the local co-op. And, by doing that, she was able to put me in a biology class that one of the dads taught at this same co-op. And, that's what homeschooling is all about. But we had always said, as a matter of principle with our family and with our kids, we're not necessarily homeschool or bust. What we are is Christian education or bust. And we homeschooled because that was the only option at the time for us financially. Well, as life continued, we realized that, hey, you know what? An excellent Christian school is within our reach as far as financial resources go. And so let's add that to the equation. And some of the kids and we, right? I don't say we didn't just let the kids decide for themselves, but in these conversations, it became clear. You know what? Yeah, let's do the Christian school thing, and it was really good, and it benefited our children. And yet, with the passing of a couple of years of successful academic years, it became clear that all of us, in one way or another, right? So the free-spirited, charismatic, personable person, the dedicated student and scientist, the bookworm, they all realized in their own different ways that they wanted to homeschool. And yet I've said that we value excellence and creative excellence. We want that. And we know, even though we are an educating family, and we know we're good teachers, and we've done a good job behomeschooling, ups and downs, but a good job homeschooling. You, by the way, are probably doing a better job homeschooling than you think. But we're very capable, and yet we are not capable of everything. How can we have that creative excellence? And just knowing, it's my job to know the teachers and know the classes at Kepler. So as the kids were talking through their decisions, and they're of an age where we want them to take more and more of a handle on their educational destiny, it just sort of became a no-brainer. So I'm actually really excited that we're going to be a complete Kepler family over the next couple of years. And I love that that they're at different stages. I love that I was able to tell my oldest, who wants to teach, that we have classes for adults that are going to help him be a good teacher, because he's a very young man, right? So a very young man is going to need a lot of wisdom and technique from an older head. Even if teaching English abroad is something that random young people do, you should do it excellently, right? You should be you should go as equipped to be an awesome teacher as you can be. And I have something to offer you at Kepler. So my gig at Kepler, as I said, is knowing the teachers, knowing the classes. That has given me an amazing insight for my own family, but I would love for you to take advantage of that as well. Book an appointment with me. Let's have a chat. Send me an email. So on the website, you can book an appointment with me easily enough. And I like nothing better than to hop into Zoom with a dad, with a mom and dad, the kids there, and just talk about what's out there, all the amazing teachers and all the amazing classes that we have. So I hope that hearing about our own personal journey, sort of from homeschooling and back, or hybrid, being a hybrid family and back, has been helpful for you. As I said, we weren't going to just do Kepler because I work here. We were going to do what was best for our children. And lo and behold, here we are, just Kepler to the hilt. And I'm loving it. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. In fact, I'm going to frame that positively. Do reach out to me and let's talk. All right, y'all, the peace of Christ be upon you. Thanks so much for watching this video.